Welcome to another Tim Cain reaction. This one, lessons as an old person. We're just gonna soak this one up. We're just gonna soak this one up because I am nowhere near old. Well, I'm getting nearer to old. Let's be honest. And I think Tim has a lot of wisdom that he can teach us. So let's see what he says. Listen here, you little shit. I would be very surprised if Tim started off a video like, "Listen here, you little shits." Like, oh, hey, we're really getting into one here.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Tim.
Hi,
Today, I
Tim.
want to share lessons I've learned as an old person. I'm going to put this up on a Friday. I'm not sure if it counts as a fun Friday, but it's not as much game development as it's lessons I've learned or have come to learn now that I'm older. And since all I've ever done is game development, it's game development stories. Context, I turned 60 a few weeks ago.
This will
Many
be
of
me
you
in
gave
30
me happy
years.
birthday wishes. Thank you. I know this isn't going to go up till the end of October, but for me, my birthday was just about 3 weeks ago.
Happy
And
birthday,
a friend
Tim.
asked me if I felt different because I turned 60. And I told him mostly I don't. I mean, yes, I do have aches in places that never ached before. And places that have ached before, they ache a lot now. But I still like games as much as I used to. I still way like sweets more than I should. Um, but the
Yeah,
one
what do
thing I was always
doctors
told
know?
is was that as you got older, you stopped appreciating like new music and other new entertainment. That has not happened. I still like new music, new TV shows, new movies, and I wonder if that has to do with streaming because a lot of stuff enters my
Streaming.
awareness unasked for. Like when I tell that thing, which I'm not gonna name, to play some music, it will often stream music I haven't heard before.
Alexa, play Despacito. He's probably speaking about his. No, he has an Echo, doesn't he? Or one, not Echo, the Google thing, whatever they're called. I think that's the Google one, isn't it?
Intermixed with stuff I like. And I've discovered a lot of new bands that way. So I like this era because it doesn't make me feel like I'm getting older. But I started thinking about what are some things that have changed in me over time. And I would describe that as lessons I learned over the decades, literally by getting older. Not things that I learned by like something happening repeatedly, but just I got older and I'm like, oh, yeah, I think there's a different way to look at that. Now, I have tons of other lessons video. I have a whole video about lessons I learned from failure. I have one where I tried to break down all the lessons I learned in the game industry by company.
Oh, jeez.
I made one about lessons I learned from a really bad teacher in college. I even have one that I like to collect different fragrances and colognes, and I have a what I've learned about the game industry from that hobby.
I don't think we've
Not
seen
going
that
to
one.
repeat those. There's links below, so I'm not going to try to repeat myself here.
I mean, I feel like even after 10 years in the industry, I've learned so much and just, it to some extent, I think before, if you're not in the industry and you want to get into the industry, there's a lot of reality checks that you're gonna hit within the first even 6 months. And I see most people who want to get into game dev, they last like maximum a year, and they are then just destroyed mentally. They are disillusioned, and I feel bad for them because a lot of them are just really awesome people to work with, and they're not even bad at what they do. It's just the industry is just such a constant test of resilience. And at every point you look out of it, you realize that the grass in many ways is way, way, way greener on the other side. It's a really harsh industry. A really harsh industry. If you were 10 years in the industry, you sound like one who's been for 50 in there, but code like one who's only been 1 year. I don't code like one who's only been 1 year. I'm not a coder, number one. I'm a designer. But no, there's been a lot of, I don't know. Every company is its own trauma in some ways. I mean, and not every company, but there's a lot of companies that will traumatize you in different ways, even if they don't intend to. Just even having a production cycle that is really rushed will traumatize you, especially if you're trying to put out really good passionate work, and you realize, well, shit, one of the 10 to 15 games that I'll ever make in my lifetime is ruined because of factors that were not my control. And you kind of have to ask yourself, well, do I want to just follow this status quo and continue to make games that I don't have any control over, or do I look for something new even when the market is unstable? And then, maybe you leave your job, you try to find something better, but you don't. Or you keep looking and applying, but you never get anything back from it. And, a lot of people will just quit at that point and just go to some other industry, and they'll be happy. They'll have fewer working hours. They'll have a lot more stability. They'll make more money. It's really one of those industries that you either get really lucky, or you just kind of, your passion is your resilience day after day after day after.
So this is things that I look back on and I think, yeah, I've changed. I don't feel that way anymore. And I'm going to start with, I seem to have less tolerance for stuff I don't like. So what I mean by that is if I'm watching a TV show or reading a book or playing a game and I don't like it, I just stop playing it. I don't feel this need to finish it. Like, I've got to finish this and see what everybody was talking about, or I'm required to finish it, or I haven't done my due diligence or whatever. And I think part of that comes from I'm far less swayed by other people's opinions. I wasn't much when I was younger, but now, even if everybody loves something, I don't feel the need to jump on the bandwagon and go, okay, I'm going to love that too. If I don't like it, I don't like it. And yeah, I've got a whole video about there are no bad games because there's just bad games for you. I recognize something is this isn't good for me. It wasn't made for me. It doesn't seem to be directed at me. I'm moving on because guess what? There's 24,999 other games for me to look at. I will look at one of those.
But I think that even, man, there's a lot of people who think that their opinion is the right one when it comes to that. I don't know if that's something that comes with age, more just, I think the ability to reflect and realize that you shouldn't and don't have control over other people. I didn't think Expedition 33's story was very good. I didn't think Baldur's Gate 3's story was very good. I'm glad that they did well. Yeah, Arc Raiders isn't for you. It's like, okay. Thankfully, there are games that are for you, right? Don't lie, the industry is shit, your passion will die. You can lie to yourself all you want. Even if your team is okay, there are 1, 2, 3 people that are okay. I still have passion. But I don't. I'm definitely not going to work for somebody that weaponizes it, no matter what. Or people like Frozen think my coding is bad, even though I've made games. Gotcha, bitch.
At the same time, I don't try to convince people who liked a game or a TV show to hate it because I did.
Yeah.
That I call that not yucking other people's yums. And
I'll share my opinion,
it basically boils down to is if somebody enjoys something, I just let them enjoy it. If they want to talk about it and they want to pull me into it, I'll say, I didn't like it. I thought the acting was bad. I thought the writing was bad. I thought the CG was bad. I thought the story was bad. And we can talk about that. But I don't try to convince them, oh, then you should hate this show. I usually if they ask me, I'm like, yeah, I wasn't really into it, but if you liked it, rock on. I don't try to convince them, yeah, that show is bad and I need to justify my opinion by making you hate it. I used to try doing that, and I see lots of people doing that now.
It just destroys friendships.
And I think basically it boils down to is people have different tastes.
Yeah.
And you can't argue someone's taste to change. And I watch people do that, and it's like they're just beating their head against the wall saying, why do you like vanilla? Chocolate is better. And it's like, let them like vanilla, and then you can eat all the chocolate.
Well, me being a fence sitter, I'm like, I like both. I'll eat white chocolate. I'll eat pink chocolate. I will eat milk chocolate. I'll eat dark chocolate. I like all of them. Welcome to the Reddit and internet.
By the way, I've had people push back on that and go, there's such things as bad games. Crashing's bad. If a game crashes, that's a bad game. And I'm like, you know what? Crashing is a bad thing. No one ever plays a game and goes, I hope this game crashes. But
this is true, but I do think that some people will. I mean, here's the thing: like, if a game is technically, like, from a technical standpoint, bad, that it crashes or has issues all over the place, I will dislike the game because of that. If a game crashes once or twice, you will never see me hold the game in a bad way because of that. Like, I mean, Stalker crashed a bit. I think I had uh, um, Borderlands 4 crashed a bit. I had, I think Ball Pit crashed to me once. Duck Off crashed to me, and it's just like, it happens. Whatever. Didn't even see you do real coding. Well, let me ask you this, Frozen. What are blueprints?
Even if a specific thing is bad, like that, like crashing, or in a
For
TV show, what you consider to be really stiff acting, or maybe bad writing that the actor was directed to be stiff with, some people just ignore that, especially if the rest is good, and they ignore it. That is part of your taste. If a game crashes once and never crashes again, a lot of people are like, I'll just restart. Oh, it's stable after that. It must have been a fluke. Some people, though, oh, it crashed. Bad game. I'm not
yep,
playing
negative
anymore.
review.
How many times a game has to
Or like, oh, the game doesn't run on my computer, even though it was clearly stated that my system isn't supported. Negative review because game doesn't run on my 10-year-old computer. Remember the scratch? No, blueprints are coding. You are a coder if you blueprint. Yep. And I think that there are people who are better at understanding the logic and can blueprint better than many coders. So I just think that you're wrong with that. Well, crash probably some memory leak. Yeah, and then they're like, well, post your system specs. It's like, oh, I have 4 gigabytes of RAM. Keep blind. I mean, Frozen, I don't think you know what you're talking about, man. But okay.
crash before you consider it bad is your threshold. And that's subjective. And that's what I mean. Just saying crashing makes a game bad. No, because I'm sure you've all played games that crashed and you like them. There's something else
A lot of
involved
them.
there, and it has to do with your own personal thresholds and tastes. And I think what I've discovered as I get older is I'm not going to put up with something if it hits my threshold. I'm done. There's too many other things out there to watch and to enjoy.
For me, I separate bugs and like crashes into two different things. Like, is this a cosmetic bug? Meaning, is this like some character's weapon clipping into their back? Is this some weird problem where like sometimes if you get close to an NPC, you can see into their face and their eyeballs? Like, these are bugs, sure, but they don't harm the game. At most, they harm immersion. But if immersion is not like a core focus of a game, like for Elden Ring, immersion from a realism standpoint was not a core focus of that game. So when I see animations clipping sometimes or whatever, it's like it doesn't matter. But it might matter a little bit more to a game like The Last of Us or something where that realism is very core to you feeling immersed in the world and like you're following these real people. Blueprints were especially made for designers. Yeah, but I disagree that they are only able to do simple stuff. I mean, but cause like here's the thing: you can write C++ code to do something simple, and you can write a blueprint to do something complex. You can organize a piece of code in a really horrible way, and you can organize a blueprint in a horrible way. You are painting with broad brushstrokes that fall apart very easily under scrutiny. Think about that.
And to play. Similarly to this is, as I've gotten older, I've stopped assuming malice when somebody does something bad. As a friend of mine
I need
once
to get
said,
better
it's
at
like,
that.
just assume they're incompetent. I'm like, no, I don't have to do that either. But I used to, when I saw someone behaving badly, I used to assume bad intent. Like that person is trying to be bad. They're being a bad person. As I grew older and I gained this perspective, I found that some people do things they don't want to do. They know it's bad, but they feel like they have to do it. Why? Because the alternative is worse. Like, no, nobody ever wants to lay off people. I laid off people from Troika. I didn't want to do that, but we had no money left. There was no alternative.
Yeah.
The alternative was to completely shut down the company, which I had to do like 3 or 4 months later. And in that interim, I tried to find other contracts that we would want to do, but there was just no alternative. So
Yeah,
to
I
me,
mean, I think that definitely comes with age, where, age, usually you have experience to match that age, and I think that you start to introspect, like, oh, I made a dumb decision that affected people. I didn't want to affect people negatively. I certainly don't like that I affected people negatively. I bet other humans have similar situations where they just make an accident, they are ignorant about something, either willingly or unwillingly ignorant, and or they have to make that tough decision that yeah, it's going to upset people like laying people off, but it is lay off 10 people or all 20 people lose their jobs. That sucks. That sucks. I think it doesn't matter if a game is made and only MVPs if it's a success. This is true, yeah. I mean, what is it? Balatro is just a giant if statement behind the scene. I think that what was before Deltarune? What's the game? I'm blanking on it. You guys know which one. That game was just like a giant switch statement for dialogue.
People got laid off. That was bad. And I won't argue that it was good, but the intent wasn't there. I wasn't trying to be bad. I've also met a large number of people who think the bad thing they did was actually good, and they spin it to be good. And they're upset that other people think they're being bad. And I don't want to give examples here because it really would let you pinpoint who I'm talking about. But I've met tons of people in the industry who think they're good guys, even though they do bad things, because they don't even think those things are bad. They think they're doing a good thing. It's like if you say like ripping plants out of the ground is bad, you've obviously never weeded a garden. So weeding a garden is good, but I can see why some people are like, stop, you're killing plants. Sometimes your perspective is what's providing the
No,
good
he's
and
right.
badness.
Yeah, this is true.
And then one other thing I wanted to mention, because how can you talk about lessons you learned about getting old without talking about ageism? I have a whole video on ageism. I'm not going to repeat all of that. I'll link it below. But I just want to say that I didn't see ageism early in the game industry, and I'm talking like in the 80s. Now, maybe it was there and I didn't notice. I mean, I was literally a teenager. So maybe I just didn't notice it. But I don't think it was there, because in the 80s, we were all equally inexperienced at making games. There was no person going, well, I've been making games for 30 years, because they hadn't been around. When I started in 1981, video games hadn't been around for more than about 5 years, 10 tops. So there weren't all these super experienced people running around. So not only did the industry skew young, even if older people were doing it, we were all about equally experienced. So I didn't think there was a lot of ageism. Now,
I don't think I've seen ageism, but I'm not somebody who would be a target of ageism. I've definitely experienced some cases of culturism. I don't know how to put it. I've seen some issues where some people are less willing to hire me because I am not Polish. And they would just find it harder to have somebody around, or I've seen a lot of assumptions made about Americans in a way that, and it's not like for fun, but in a way that could lead to some issues in work. And I think that there's maybe with ageism, there's this kind of assumption that people who are old are not going to be adaptable, which maybe is true to some extent, but I'm not sure if adaptability is a clear, constant winner over tradition if the tradition is good. If the wheel doesn't need to be remade, why remake the wheel? And hiring a bunch of new people just so that they are, quote, adaptable doesn't mean that they're going to provide the wisdom and experience that somebody with 20 years, 30 years, or more is going to provide to the team. And that can be a very stable rock to build around us. That's why we often put people who have a lot of experience. And usually, if you have 20 years of experience, it probably means that you are a bit older. Just generally speaking, we put those people into leadership positions because they have all of that wealth of experience and knowledge and wisdom from being so long having to do those responsibilities. I'm not saying that they didn't hire me because I'm an American, but I've seen some wariness, and if we can parallel that wariness 2 other hiring managers, there might have been some cases with it. So I can't. There's no proof of this. There's no proof of this. I can only draw conclusions from the things that I have heard and the discussions I've had, but I can't prove that I have physically been denied a job because of this in Poland.
Now, though, oh my God, I've heard people say the most terrible things. Here's a quote, this is why I hate working with old people, unquote. And this person said it unapologetically. And I bet you they think they're a good person. And guess what? This is going to come back and bite them in the butt. Because, first of all, blaming a whole group for one thing that you encountered, well, there's a word for that.
Tim, that doesn't happen in 2025. No, blaming groups of people for a thing. No.
And for some things, sure, it may be possible
Like
that
that's all
in
that happens in
general,
2025.
people in this group are awful. But if you blame everything on that, you're being a little bit discriminatory. And I think this is going to bite you later, because if you're wondering how you today are going to be judged by future generations, I think this is one of those things. And they're going to say, I can't believe this person said that. How my God, they said that publicly. They thought they were right. And that's what a lot of generations now think of previous generations. And you're setting yourself up for that.
Yeah.
I guess you might say that older Tim is more mellow than younger Tim was. I know I've changed some of my design philosophies over time. And I'm not even saying I would change them. I refined them.
Same.
I understood what I knew better. And then rather than just doing things instinctively, I started applying rules to what I wanted to do. And also, I've made enough games that I saw what worked and what didn't, and also what people liked and what didn't. Because sometimes I think things worked, but it just wasn't popular. It wasn't a feature people were begging for, and I didn't do it again in later games.
You guys asked me why I'm not working on Coin Pusher Realms. It's because we got feedback that the thing that I thought would be fun just isn't fun. You learn as you go. There's your market research. You can get no better feedback than the reviews on your game.
Which means, of course, my designs now are very different than they were in my games 20 or 30 years ago. And I see people who argue that, hey, you've changed, man. This is terrible. You should go back to making games like you did in the 90s. And I'm like, but there's a reason we don't do that. And it has to do with popularity and refinement, and things have gotten different.
Yep.
And yeah, some of the stuff we've left behind would still be fun to do, but a lot of it just wouldn't work.
Well, a lot of it, I think that sometimes people don't realize they're in a niche. And there's a lot of things that I would want from an RPG game that I realize I'm in the niche with. I am one of the 1%, or even at best like 5% of players who want this thing in here. And there are games that are built for me. They're often smaller, smaller production value because they are trying to appeal to this 5% of this genre. And just by the nature of that, you have a limited number of people that are likely going to ever buy your game. So there is that maximum cap on budget that you should probably spend if you want to actually have a return on investment. But they are there.
And guess what? That's normal. You should be open to changing your mind on things. And if you're not, that's what closed-mindedness is. And some of you are probably saying right now, no, that's just your passion fading, man. And that's just you not being into what's cool anymore. And I'm like, you know what? That's the whole thing I'm talking about. If you lump that into ageism, if me changing a design philosophy, the only way you can cope with that is saying it's because I've gotten older, that's what ageism is.
Yeah, that's weird.
Personally, I think my wisdom score has gone up if I was a D&D character. I don't think I'm smarter or better or faster at my job, but I certainly am more experienced. And that experience sometimes comes across as looking like those things. I will put together something more quickly. It will be better defined. People can take it and do more stuff with it. And that isn't because I'm any smarter. It's just I've done so much stuff. I've got so much experience that it guides what I do. And I think that's what wisdom is. And wisdom does come with age. Now, if only I didn't ache so much.
That's a good way to end that. Poor Tim. Hey, happy birthday, Tim. That was a good video, though. That's a good video. I definitely can see myself following similar pathways where a lot of the things he talks about learning as he gets older are also things that I'm experiencing too. There's the video, guys. Go give it a like. Go give Tim a subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. Please help him out. Let's help him reach 200,000 subscribers because he really deserves it. And if you're watching on YouTube, take care, and we'll catch you in the next one.